Robin's with you in the afternoons.
Well, it is time for Wellness Wednesday, and I am joined once again by Jane Ehrman, who is here from, Wellness. Jane, help me out here. Remind me, I'm having a moment. It's the last day of school, and I've been subbing in preschool all week. I'm having a moment. Help me again with your website.
That's okay, Robin. My company is Images of Wellness, and this is Wellness Wednesday.
Thank you. I say it every other week, it seems like. I know it by heart, and I'm just a little, it's that last day of school moment.
That's okay. I have your back.
Oh, thank you so much. You always do. I love hanging out with you. So, last week we were talking about our kids and growing up and all that. But our kids grow up and they go off to college or out on their own or to a career or a job, as so many of them are doing this very same week here in the Napa Valley. And for any number of reasons, some adult children move back home. I've had that happen. My friends have had that happen. What do you do when your child moves back home? Is this a common occurrence?
Actually, Robin, it's more common than you realize. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 1 in 3 adults between the ages of 18 and 34 move back or still live with their parents. They're called Boomerang kids.
Well, that makes sense.
I'm going to refer to the child in this sense as adult child because they are adults, and it's important to see them that way.
Right. Well, I know the reasons my own kids have come home. One is currently home, but just for the summer in between sophomore and junior year of college. But I had another one move home after graduating college last year. What are some common reasons that adult children move back home?
The reasons you shared just now are common, but so is student debt or credit card debt, or maybe a job loss or rising rent costs, health issues. And sometimes it's that gap between getting out of school and finding or starting a job. It could be several months or longer. Often the adult child feels uncomfortable about coming home. And parents generally aren't necessarily happy about it either. For parents and the adult children, it can be a setback, depending upon what the issues are for having to come home. And there can be a sense of loss about independence and autonomy for everybody.
Right. My husband and I spent 1 year completely empty nesting when we had a freshman and a senior in college. And we were kind of finding our groove when all of a sudden the oldest graduated from college and came back home, mostly, I think, because spring quarter of college, she was so wrapped up in an internship and classes and finals and getting ready to graduate that where she was headed after they handed her that diploma kind of, I don't want to say it hadn't occurred to her, but just a plan hadn't been in place. And she just wanted a year or so to get on her feet and figure out what's next. What are some important things, though, that parents should keep in mind when their adult child moves back home? Because it is definitely a change for everybody.
It is. And the most important thing is good communication. That's essential. Don't assume anything. Instead, talk things out. Discuss why their adult child is coming back home and what this all means for you. And at this point, your adult child needs adulting, not parenting. Your child is now an adult. So it's important to make the shift from parent-child relationship to adult-adult. And what does that mean? Well, parents, avoid falling back into that mommy or daddy mode, where you're hovering or asking 20 questions. Where are you going? When you coming out? Coming back? Who you going with? All those kind of things. Or trying to fix things or taking responsibility for them as you did perhaps when they were younger. They've been on their own for some time and are not used to checking in so much. And
that
they have
is
their
a hard
own
thing to
routine.
do. I know, and it's so hard to do because it's so easy, I think, for all of us to fall back into those old routines. And here is this young woman all of a sudden who's back in her childhood bedroom, and yet she's 22. She's graduated from college. She's had an apartment. She's had roommates. She's had boyfriends and girlfriends and, been out on her own and a job and all sorts. She has basically, other than her roommates, had nobody that she's needed to answer to, as it were. Not that we're telling her not to do these things, but just that idea of needing to be responsible to somebody.
Yes, it can kind of cramp their style and cramp your style. Mm-hmm. So parents want to avoid becoming a rescuer or an enabler. They're adults and they have to figure some things out for themselves. And depending upon the circumstances, they have to face the consequences of their decisions. Maybe it's been a financial issue. And I remember seeing my mom put money in my purse for gas. She didn't know I saw her because she wanted to help me. And it was important to her to feel needed. The truth was I needed to take responsibility for my own expenses, and her putting money in my purse wasn't being helpful. So that's something parents need to be aware of. And together discuss and set a reasonable deadline for them moving out and stick to it. As far as how long they stay, research shows weeks or months to 3 years is long enough. Kids have to figure out how to live on their own, and you don't want to be them to be dependent upon you for too long. Another piece is to respect each other's privacy. Have good boundaries. Treat them as the way you'd want to be treated as an adult. For example, if a family, a friend or a relative came to stay for a while, you would respect their privacy of the room they're staying in or where they go or who they see. And they may have a different routine and different needs as far as food or exercise, space, alone time. The same with your adult child. So, treat each other as adults. Parents, it's okay to say yes or no without feeling guilty about something that you want or don't want. And it's okay to prioritize your needs around your health, your safety, your well-being, your peace of mind, your socialization. Parents, maintain your independence and your social life. And remember, your house, your rules. So smoking or substance use or cleaning up after themselves or noise level, all these kinds of things are really important to discuss initially and come to agreement about things.
No, that makes perfect sense. We had kind of said we didn't have a strict one, but we kind of said, let's try and move back home for maybe a year and just kind of figure it out. And in the end, it took her 9 months before she was ready to go back and find her college girlfriends and, let's get a place together. I think she had enough of us too after about 9 months. So in our case, it was really nice that we didn't have to push that envelope a little too much. How can parents best support their adult child during this time to help them get back out on their own?
Oftentimes money is an issue. And if their finances are a problem, it's important that your adult child have or get a job and to save, to pay off debt, and to find good living conditions. Be patient. This can take some time. And consider charging your adult child some rent or payment toward utilities and food, and agree on a set amount. Sometimes it's around $200 or $300 a month. That's a lot less than rent, but it can be money that as they're giving it to you as their kind of payment, you can save and give back to them when they're ready to leave. That might be an option. Avoid risking your own financial security, though. A survey from Intuit Credit Karma said 3/4 of parents who supported their children said it affected their own finances, and 30% said it affected how much they were able to save for retirement. So parents really need to be aware of what they can afford to help their child, their adult child, deal with. And if they can't contribute financially at this time, then they can help with household chores and other responsibilities that rather than pay some money. It's important to do your best as a parent to understand and support your adult child's career goals and encourage them to actively work toward the challenges they have in achieving those goals, and encourage them to take responsibility for their finances. Then if they need some help, creating a budget, learning how to do that, then do that with them or help them find the right person that can help with that. And while this time may be stressful for your adult child, avoid allowing them to get too comfortable. All of a sudden, they're not helping out around the house, their dishes are in the sink or they're still at the table, all of a sudden you're doing their laundry. I mean, I stopped doing my kids' laundry when they started changing classes in the 6th grade. I said, if you can change classes after you learn how to sort clothes, you could do your own laundry. And
solid plan.
Kids have to be able to do that.
Both my daughters had stories of kids in the dorms that had no idea how to use the washing machine, and they just looked at them like they were crazy. And I thought, gosh, who sent their kid off to college without teaching them how to use a washing machine?
You'd be surprised. So, clearly you want a safe place for your adult child to, live while they're working things out. But your home is not the hotel with amenities. It's a safe place to live and to be responsible for themselves while they're working to get back on their own.
Right. I agree. How can adult children move through this time in the best ways? Because it's such a transformational time for we parents, us parents. It's kind of just a minor adjustment, but especially if it involves like a college graduation, say, and then a move back home, like it was in our case. It's a major change in so many ways, emotionally, schedule-wise, just way of living in so many ways.
Yes. Well, it's a two-way street, and that's important to remember. The adult child can make the transition smoother by being open and honest with parents about their situation. And honestly, adult child, downsize your things before you move back home. Often you've accumulated a whole mess of stuff. And remember, you're going to be perhaps limited to a room or two and maybe some room in a crawl space or basement or whatever. Just be aware. Establish your goals and create a plan to succeed. And it's important for adult children to be ready to show the progress they're making to their parents. It's reassuring to the parent that, we're working along here. He or she is perking along and making progress toward being back out on their own. Establish an adult-adult relationship with your parents. Take responsibility for your food, your laundry, and as much as possible, your financial responsibility. Contribute to sharing in living expenses and such. If you don't have a job, get a job. Be considerate of your parents' privacy and their independence, because they adjusted to your being gone, and now it's different for both of you. Mm-hmm. So communicate. It's important to communicate. Yes, you have your own social life, but be considerate, adult child. Let parents know when you'll be back, especially if you're going to be back very late, or if you're not coming back that night, you're going to be overnight somewhere, so that they're not worried. That's just called being respectful and considerate.
Agreed, for sure. That was a big change for us to make too. Just she was not the same person that had left our house freshman year right out of high school. And yes, she had been home briefly for spring break or holidays, that kind of thing. But this past year was kind of the first time that we were all back in the house in a consistent living situation. And all of a sudden she was over 21 and we were all having wine with dinner or just little changes, or, she was not the same 17-year-old that we sent off to college. I
remember, my kids walking out of the house at 11:30 at night. Now you're like, well, where are you going at this hour? I had to learn to stop myself from ever saying that. I didn't like it when my in-laws said that, and I was married.
That's when the parties are starting.
It's exactly. So they have a whole different social life than parents do. We need to respect that.
And then they used to last time you were all living under the same roof as well. Any closing thoughts for us on these boomerang kids that take off and then come right back home?
Treat each other as adults. Be patient and respectful and supportive. And together develop a good plan to help your adult child be fully independent and out on their own, either before or by the set end date. Good luck to all of you.
Right. This is all great information. You were talking about downsizing. I do have a garage full. About half of the garage is now full with my youngest things, but she is only home for the summer. So there's an end date already put in pen on the calendar. We figured we could deal with it for the summer, but there you go. Yeah. Thanks, Jane. I've been talking with Jane Ehrman from imagesofwellness.com about boomerang children and how to best handle that situation. Thanks, Jane, for joining me. It's always great as part of our Wellness Wednesday.
You're welcome, Robin. Good to talk to you again.
99.3 The Vine is owned and operated locally by Wind Down Media.